I'm feeling so unstoppable, beating the impossible. Being number one ain't nothing new. Get up off the tracks, it's that choo-choo. Yeah, that J-train coming through. I said that choo-choo. Yeah, that J-train coming through. You know that choo-choo. Yeah, that J-train coming through. It's that J-train coming through. That J-train coming through. But I'm coming for it all. Yeah, me and brother Vinny. I'm a top-notch warrior, but
all right. Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Blood, Sweat, and Banter with Vinny Headlock and Justin Gonzalez. I want to thank you guys for coming in. So we have a real special guest today. He is the man, the myth, the legend. He's a really big, important part to us. He's been a mentor to us for decades now, and that is Coach Denny Taylor. So we wanted to talk to you about him a little bit more, about our personal connection, but we also wanted to give a disclaimer because Coach Taylor is 84 years old, and we had a very good talk and conversation. We learned so many stories that we couldn't fit it all in one podcast. So we're going to have him on multiple times, and you guys will get the chance to hear more and more from him as the time goes on. But we really wanted to do a personal introduction of Coach and how we met him. So it really starts with Justin, because you got the first encounters with Coach.
Yeah, shoot. Let me think, man. I've known Coach for a very long time. Here we go. We'll just start from the start. So Coach owned a gym in Greeley, and basically, if you were any type of decent athlete, you definitely lifted at Coach's. It was like, it's what made you a more recognized athlete. So I was 13 years old. My dad drops me off at this guy's house, and he's talking to him, and we're kind of walking around, checking out his gym. And I remember specifically, he said, make him like Tony. So that's a little side story. Tony is another Greeley legend, 3-time state champion. Tony Mastari is his name. 3-time state champion, multiple, high school All-American, national champion. He won Fargo.
Yeah, Fargo national champ, and he wrestled for UNC.
Yeah,
and
he's a multiple qualifier.
You know, similar to, our friend Andrew Lears, he wanted to stay local, and he wanted to put on for his local university, which at the time just went back to Division I.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and now Tony's a very successful coach at Eaton High School. He's won a few
team titles. So I'm like, dude, it's funny. It was just funny because I remember my dad saying that. I'm like, what the heck, dude?
I don't want to be like Tony. I want to be like me.
But at the time, Tony was a bad dude. So, anyways, Coach laughs and he looks at me. He's like, I can do that. So, started with him when I was 13 years old. I am currently 33 years old. So I've known Coach for 20 years, 2 decades, a big part of my life. So lifted with Coach since then, all the way till now. A little bit about Coach. Coach is a father. Coach is an entrepreneur. He has owned multiple gyms. One was a lot bigger gym called it was Fitness Corporation. Sorry. Yes, in Joliet, Illinois. And then he also owned a gym in Greeley called Team Taylor. And that's where I walked in. Dad dropped me off and said, make him like Tony. So so he's an entrepreneur, both very successful gyms. I mean, we'll post some pictures to give you guys a little lowdown of what it looks like. It's a little garage gym, but man, he extended a chunk of his house to add on. I mean, anything to be a successful, stronger individual, he had it.
Yeah, and that place was filled to the brim with just a bunch of young Greeley kids that wanted to get stronger. And
yeah,
I mean, his affiliations through Team Taylor were stronger than just what he did in his garage. I mean, I remember he pretty much helped build the entire Greeley, or the Northridge football team.
Yep.
as a kid, I didn't start lifting there till I was much older. So when I would go in just to watch Justin lift, I would always see these cool photos of just all these football players. And like, I remember they had a picture of Ryan Hill with like the frozen
helmet. That was sweet. I mean, I guess it just goes on to say of like how great of a coach he was. I mean, the coaching goes from youth, high school, collegiate. He's coached several pro athletes. So, I mean, he's done it on every level and has success on every level.
So, and when we talk about pro athletes, we're not saying like these niche people that you've never heard of. One thing that I know we didn't get to talk about, but we are so excited to get to hear from him about, is his affiliation with the 1980s Dynasty Bears.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I mean, like, and he's talked a bunch of times about how he used to watch Walter Payton, one of the greatest football players to ever live, come and work out in his gym.
Which, man, and that's just one.
That's one person. I mean, and we'll give you guys
Franco Colombo.
He's brushed shoulders with the Arnold
Schwarzenegger. It was, and we'll get him to tell you that story whenever we get him in. It's a lot. It's badass. He's ran into Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, dude. Like, how can you live these many lives and then do all these many things? He's traveled all over the world for powerlifting that you just can't even fathom all the stories he has. And he gave us as much as he could with the things we've asked him. So we just hope that you guys enjoy the first little bit of Coach Taylor that we've gotten to give to you.
I guess we left out a part too. I mean, that's another thing. He was a professional power lifter. This guy won multiple state titles, multiple national titles, and I kid you not, multiple world titles. So
and he did a lot of the powerlifting later in his life. Like, he was always in great, phenomenal shape. But when he started doing it competitively, he was already like well into his 40s.
Yeah. I think it was about his competitive career was roughly like 25 years, 20 years maybe. Don't quote me. I'll look up some stats and I will have it for you guys. But it's also remarkable. I think, let's throw out some of his PRs, you know?
Oh my God. I think his PR for squat, which the most I've ever did, even when I was competing just for like MMA, I think the most I ever put up on a squat was like 350. I almost got to 4 at one point. Coach in the later half of his life was putting up 661. Like, dude,
661 squat. I think his bench was 424.
424?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I can't even put up just 124, let alone 424. And again, he's in the master's class when he's doing this. He's already got gray hair in his beard and everything, and he's putting up 400 pounds on the bench.
Dude, impressive. And this is natural. A lot of his competitions were natties.
Yeah, and that was something that he instilled in his team at Team
no
Taylor.
Steroids. That is the one. For being a powerlifting gym, most people kind of just associate that with doing that, and that was one of his first rules. He said is like, don't get in trouble, have good grades, and don't do any steroids or drugs.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty simple. I think I can do all that.
Shoot, how many? And the kids would get kicked out of the gym. He finds out you get a bad report card, you're suspended from the gym. It was a real honor to be in that garage, to be in there with your friends and your brothers, getting stronger and reaching your athletic goals. And I remember he finds out you were drinking or you were smoking pot. It was over from there. You were just goodbye.
I remember several times in high school, there were some high level athletes that were like, dude, local stars. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, didn't see him in the gym anymore. And you're like, what the heck is going on? You know, the gym talks. People talk in high school. There's a lot of drama. And they're like, oh, man, they got an MIP or something. You would kick them out of the gym. Maybe let them come back, but they had to earn it. Yeah. So I was like, dang, dude. As a 13-year-old kid walking in there, I was like, dang, dude, this is for real. And a little bit about Coach at that time. Very intimidating looking guy. He was pretty yoked out. He's pretty way buff. Had this flat top and big beard, big muscles, and very like a stern tone. Now, not so much, but at the time, it was like, hey, no bullshitting around.
No. Like, if you went to Team Taylor, you were just like, this guy's going to kick my ass. He's going to be pissed off at me just for even being in the gym wearing jeans. Like, come here and work out. Like, I remember whenever I was a kid and you guys would go work out, I always thought he hated my guts. It was just like, what's this fatty doing over here trying to lift weights? And it took like, because let me see, you started when you were 13. I actually started going seriously to coaches when I was 19 after my first year of college.
Yeah.
And 19 years old, I finally figured out, like, oh my God, he's got a personality. He's nice. He doesn't just lift weights and sleep. Oh my gosh. Because I thought that's what it was. And a lot of people got that intimidation from him. But I tell you what, you break through that shell, he'll give you the shirt off his back, and he will do everything in his power to make you a champion.
You know, at the time you're running a gym, a very dangerous spot, a very, very dangerous place if not used correctly. So he was very firm about just, sorry, I got distracted. Somebody came and opened the door. Excuse me.
We can edit this out.
What do you call it? Like posture, your form, your.
Oh yeah, just like your form when you lift. You know, you don't want to be squatting with your head down and your heels down and everything. Like, Coach would teach you about that. I always thought it was just pick the shit up and lift it and
very
swing
specific form, very specific. Just like always use a belt, always use a spotter. But whenever you have a bunch of kids and a lot of them, you got to be kind of tough. But he'd always make it up. He might snap at somebody, but if you worked out hard enough, you got treated with a red vine.
Oh, the red vine. Dude, that was Coach Taylor's for me as a kid. It was like, you didn't go there to work out. You went there to eat some red vines. He always would go to Sam's Club, and he just had this big giant jug of red vines. And it got, I was talking to one of our family friends, Todd Stephenson. He's like, "Oh man, that's half the time I went in there.
just go eat
a couple red vines. Go pick up my boys from the gym. I'd go grab 3 red vines, leave the gym." I mean, you can, nowadays, if you're in Greeley and you're eating a red vine and you've worked out at Coach Taylor's, there's no way he doesn't come to your mind.
You has to. It's nostalgic. That's they go hand in hand.
Oh my gosh.
I still got some songs on my playlist that were like some hardcore rock back in the day. And it's just nostalgic when I'm at the gym. I have it as my gym shit playlist. And it just reminds me of Coach Taylor's, you know?
Oh my gosh.
That very distinct smell when you walked in.
It smelled like
success.
I mean, the best way I can describe it, because when we were at Top Notch, we were in the basement of the Rio, and it's the same smell you get when you walk into Coach Taylor's.
Yeah.
If you ever seen Rocky and you ever go to Mighty Mix, it's the same smell.
Actually would, like, I would say very, very different, but also that's the type of coach was. Think of Mick.
Yeah, just think of, you need to eat lightning and crap thunder. Now, he wasn't that serious because Coach would just tell you on the bench, like, get it up, come on. Hey, keep your elbows in. Good job. I love, and I remember as a kid, I would beg for Coach Taylor to spot me because he was just something about that just elderly grit that he had from being in the gym his entire life. Just motivated me to, like, I got to get this barbell up because if I don't, Coach is going to flip.
He just like, I mean, he just had this way of connecting with people, which, I mean, shoot, he has a bachelor's in sports psychology, so it kind of makes sense. He just understood the wide variety of athletes, how to make one general concept of like strength training, but to adapt it to such a variety of athletes, kids, students, ages, you know, just I don't think he let people start until they were like 13 or 14.
You had to be a teenager for sure.
And for the longest time, he didn't let me squat or do certain things. He was like, no, you're going to do body weight. You're going to do the leg press until I think you're ready. And I was like, dude, can I start squatting? I don't think you're ready yet. A little bit more. And it made you work harder because it was like, that was the coach he was, man. He was great.
Yeah.
So,
but man, cannot say enough good things about Coach Taylor. He's affected hundreds of lives with his involvement in sports.
Thousands, dude.
Thousands,
I would say thousands, man. Because
that's only in Greeley. You know, I'm thinking, you think about his time in Chicago.
That was a whole separate.
That's again, 1,000 lives this guy's been a part of. And it's amazing because I couldn't imagine my life without Coach Taylor, you know, really pushing me to greater heights. If I was never... I know for a fact that if it wasn't for strength and conditioning training, and that's from all my coaches, you know, shout out to Big Pat Gomez, you know, you helped me do a whole lot. And Coach Taylor, you helped me with my MMA career, getting me to where I wanted to be. You know, people underestimate strength and conditioning, and Coach Taylor really went that extra mile for so many people. I mean, the city of Greeley already alone that just went through his doors. Zach Broughton, Fonz Aragon,
Tony Mastari.
I
mean, me, you.
I mean, God, so many, countless people. Easton Ramirez.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was our strength coach whenever Northridge won a team title.
Exactly.
Me, Easton, Drake. Chewy. There was a bunch. Everybody, pretty much, almost everybody on the team lifted at Coach Taylor. So I was just like, wow, man, the memories of this guy are great. And it's just fun because he would attend so many events. That was just, it was like part of, I don't know if I want to say part of the job, but like
he knew what he was signing up for.
Yeah. He went to several of my wrestling matches, the big ones, the ones that he could make it to. He would make it to state. And it was fun because you'd come back to the gym like the next week and he would always, still in the gym today, he has a cutout of, let me think, me. It's like a triple of me, Robert Pickerel, and Bryce Wolf. We all won state that year, and they all had the cutouts from the articles and cool pictures. It just made a mini collage that I was like, dude, it was sweet. He cared about his athletes, put them up in the gym, and he did that for all of his athletes. I've seen some of Tony. I've seen some of Broughton, Alfonso.
Yeah.
Dane Osthoff.
There were so many. That was what made Team Taylor special. It's, you can lift out, you can go work out, lift weights at any gym. There's several gyms.
There's Workout West. There was a bunch of other
Workout
gyms.
West. You want to go to just some rinky-dink gym anywhere in Greeley, you're going to work out. But if you want a father figure and a mentor who cares about you, to this day, one of my most heartfelt things I've ever got was knowing that Coach was putting my MMA clippings on the board.
Yeah.
Like he keeps the ticket stubs.
Yep.
He'd put your picture up, and it's never like, hey, give me a picture. He would go to the Kodak store, get it printed out, and make sure that everyone knows that Vinny Gonzalez, Justin Gonzalez,
I have it labeled year, state champ, MMA champ, whatever it was. All conference.
And I was hoping to get into the paper for anything, because then I could give it to Coach and he could put it on the wall.
Yeah.
It was the best thing that you could possibly get, was to get yourself on the Coach Team Taylor Wall of Fame.
Very, man, for as crazy as his life was and just how badass of an individual he was a very selfless person. For the athletes of Team Taylor who watch this, I think you can all attest, man. I'd say he's touched thousands of lives, and on all levels, man. I don't think I would be where I am today without Coach Taylor. I really don't, So just a little side note before we kind of wrap this up and go into the next segment. Coach Taylor, 84 years old. He competed in
the Warrior Classic.
The Warrior Classic. That is what it's called, in the Masters division, and won gold at 80 years old, man. And he trained for it. He wrote his own program. I mean, he cut weight. I think he lost probably 12 pounds. At 80 years old, I was like, dude.
Like nobody in their right mind's like, yeah, I'm going to lose a bunch of weight when I'm 80.
And I just, man, it was a cool process. And, we'll talk about it. He still has goals. He wants to do another one. He keeps asking me, he's like, will you do one with me? I'm like, oh man, I don't know. For me to do that is kind of, maybe it'll be fun just to go mess around, change up my lifting whenever I don't have things going on. For obviously MMA is still the main goal. But, shit, you know what? Bucket list. Do a bodybuilding competition with Coach. Who knows? Man. Maybe I win.
Hey, man,
who knows? Maybe I win.
Oh, take it easy, Justin. We don't allow guns in this household. But so you guys got a little introduction to Coach. We're going to introduce you to him a little bit more with some details for the rest of the podcast. Stick around. And again, like, share, subscribe. Love all the support you can give us, man. And without further ado, Coach Denny Taylor.
Mr. T. What's up, everybody? And thanks for tuning in to the Blood, Sweat, and Banter podcast. It's your boy, Justin J. Train, alongside two, not just one, but two of my favorite people, Vinny Headlock and the man, the legend, somebody very dear to our hearts, Coach Denny Taylor.
Go, Coach!
Now, some of you guys might not be familiar with who Coach is, so listen up, pay attention, because this guy has done a lot of just remarkable things. He was very well known here in Northern Colorado, multiple gym owner back in Chicago. As a youth, he was a Golden Gloves boxer. He was a collegiate wrestler. He also was a collegiate football player before ultimately graduating with not one, not two, not three, but 4 separate degrees, all ranging in exercise physiology, let me see here, sports psychology, fire science. That's just the tip. There's a whole lot more. This man was a very successful professional power lifter. He did partake in bodybuilding, but his niche, powerlifting. Kind of shows you where I got these from, kind of shows that's how we met. Like I said, he was an entrepreneur. He owned 2 separate gyms, and shoot, man, he's still doing it. He is 84 years old. A couple years ago, at 80 years old, he won the Masters division at the Warrior Classic, which is a bodybuilding show here in Colorado, which is kind of big. So, shoot, Coach, you want to say anything to the fans?
Hi, fans. Have I got any fans out there?
You saying hi, fans, or hi, Vans? Hey, Vans, what's up? But, man, it really can't be even put into words, Coach. I mean, you lived 1,000 lives, and you've done so many things. I mean, might as well just start at the beginning. So you grew up in Chicago.
Right.
Now, you didn't grow up in the nice suburban
South Chicago.
South Chicago. Tell us a little bit what it was like growing up there.
Big difference. South Chicago is where the Hells Angels live.
the biker gang?
And yes.
Oh my
and
God.
I had a motorcycle, okay?
Oh.
I had to have this motorcycle. So I ended up crashing. I shouldn't have got one. But for a couple of months, it was really fun. Because you'd see a pretty girl and you could say, hey, you want to ride? And that worked pretty good.
Chicks dig motorcycles from my understanding.
But
They like the little vroom vroom.
I loved finally I started with a crummy motorcycle for, I think it was like $200. But I wanted a Harley Davidson. And I ended up with a Harley Davidson.
The cream of the crop, If you're going to have a bike, you got to have a good one.
The Hells Angels, I got it from one of the Hells Angels because I was training guys in the gym. And I asked this guy, I said, where do I get a really cool bike? Because they would take a bike and modify it, put on all kinds of really cool stuff. He said, how much money you got, Coach? And I said, well, I'm a coach. I don't have a lot of money. He said, tell you what, I'll find you one. So 2 weeks later, I got a knock at midnight at my little house. he said, you know what we talked about a week ago or whatever? And I said, yeah. Why? He says, come here, I want to show you something. So he takes me out on the porch. There's a Harley Davidson motorcycle, baby. I mean, this thing was huge, and it was beautiful. It was brand new.
Do you know what kind?
It was a Harley 550, I think.
Okay. Jeez.
And that's not the real big one, but
I mean, I don't know a lot about bikes, but I think the last bike I rid was like a 400. So a 550 is that's got some balls. It's good enough.
That's still, for Hell's Angels, that's a low class bike. But I actually knew a couple of Hell's Angels.
Okay.
And
were you were in the Hell's Angels, were you? Yeah, because now this is a very. Were you associated with them? Were you just friends with them? I'm assuming
they belonged to my gym. I owned a gym.
Dang. The Fitness Corporation.
The Fitness Corporation was a large gym. So I had a couple of guys, and I lived in the gym. I lived in the second story. So the girl comes up that ran the desk, and she said, Coach, I think you better come down to the desk.
Oh, boy.
And I'm going, oh, man. Because once in a while you get these guys that want to fight, you know. And there's a guy there. He looks normal, whatever. He's got, you know, and I said, what can I help you with? He said, am I allowed to join your gym? And I said, yeah. What's the problem?
Why wouldn't you be able to?
Exactly. And he looked at me and he said, I'm a Hell's Angel. And I knew what that was.
Pretty bold statement.
And I said, I didn't know what to say. You know, I thought he could shoot me right now or, you know, punch me or what. And I looked outside while we were talking, and sure enough, there was a big Harley Davidson out there in the parking lot. And I said, I wanted to break the ice a little bit. And I said, is that your bike? He said, yeah. He said, don't let anybody touch it. I went, okay.
I'm like, I got you. Yeah, for sure. Nobody's touching that bike.
I said, I'll tell you what. I said, you can work out here today if you want. I said, with one thing, you have to give me a ride on Harley, okay? I don't want to drive it, but do you give anybody a ride? He said, yeah, pretty girls. I said, well, you know, I want a bike like that, but I can't afford that. So, you know, can I go for a ride? And he says, yeah. He said, I'll look you up when I'm done. So he goes in and does bicep workout or whatever. He came back out and he said, you ready to go? I said, yeah, let's go. And so I had my leather jacket on and my motorcycle stuff.
Got to look the part.
I wanted to look the part. And I wanted people to know, like, hey, you know, I'm just riding double now, but I got the big bike at home. And so he put me on the back, of course, and he rode out into the street. And I thought, cool, we'll be gone for 15, 20 minutes, and I got to go back to the gym. Well, he hit that thing and went from like 30 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour, like in a very short period of time. And I'm going, whoa. You know, I'm going, I don't want to die here.
Extra tight there on the back seat.
And I was hanging on. I don't think I wanted to hang on to his waist. That would be a little sexual or whatever. So I was hanging on. There were some little things on the side, and I was hanging on like that. I thought I was starting to cramp up. I was gripping so hard, and I was saying, "Lord, get me home, get me home,
Please."
Get me home." And we got home. And I said, "Well, thanks a lot." And so, funny thing, I lived just about a mile down the road in an apartment. And so I was going to sleep one night, or I was out on the front porch, I think, with the dog, and this guy rolls up on a big Harley Davidson. And he said, "Are you Coach Taylor?" I said, "Yeah." "Why?" He said, "This bike is yours."
Dang.
I said, what? He said, it's yours. He said, but we have to be careful getting the license plate. Because
Why is that?
it used to belong to someone else.
He gave you a stolen bike.
And this bike was beautiful. It was Harley makes about 5 different kind of bikes. And the high-end ones are the big, huge thing, you know.
Like a chopper.
Yeah. And I you know, it wasn't that. It was the one that was a couple lower down.
Oh, okay.
And this thing was beautiful. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, this is for me?
That's a
He
pretty
said,
generous
"Coach."
gift.
He says, Coach, you've been nice to everybody. He said, you were nice to so-and-so, and that was one of the bikers. And I'm going, oh, but he's a nice guy. He said, well, he may not be around very long or something. And I'm going,
I feel like that's a true story, considering, like, hey, the Hell's Angels, he might not be around anymore. But don't worry,
I
he won't be
don't-
missing his bike.
I don't think I want to know what that means. And
So
he said, hey, he said, come down the street. So the gym was a block and a half away. I said, why? You know, I thought I was going to help him with a workout or something. He said, there's a guy that's going to give you a license. He said, it's going to be certified to you. He says, all taken care of. He said, but you have to leave it here for a couple of days before you ride it. He said, because if the cops pick you up right now, we got a problem. So I left it there, and I put a big chain on it, on the tires in front, and then I had a spotlight by the gym, and I had the kid adjust the spotlight so it was right on the Harley. I said, I don't think anybody is going to steal it.
Like the street lights?
And it was like a beam kind of light, and it would shine right on the Harley.
like a security light for your apartment, or just like a personal light at your house, right?
It was like a holy thing, this beam of light. And it was on nothing. It was pitch black.
Except for that bike.
It hit on a Harley Davidson.
Isn't it a little
That
like
could be a commercial.
So I lived in the gym. I had an apartment in the back of the gym. And I thought, I can't go to sleep with that bike up there. I said, what if somebody takes the bike? Because some of those guys know how to steal motorcycles. And then the motorcycle's for sale the next week, you know. And so instead of sleeping in my bedroom in the back, I went up and slept out right outside the front door in a cot. And I could see the motorcycle. And I adjusted the light so that it was right on the motorcycle. And I didn't sleep very good that night. I'm worried about that. Somebody's going to try to steal that motorcycle.
So Coach Taylor was also a part of the Hell's Angels.
unofficially.
Unofficially.
Unofficial Hell's Angels.
But what I thought was ironic, Coach, was whenever you're saying like you had this holy light coming down, the Hell's Angels and holiness being affiliated with each other.
You don't hear that very often.
But oh my god, and that's just normal stuff that happened in Chicago, South side of Chicago.
South side of Chicago. And the Hell's Angels, I had 2 of them that worked out in my gym.
You got to know these guys pretty good.
They liked me, and I liked them.
They're working out at the gym. They're giving you bikes.
And
like,
I got this.
That's a cool connection to have.
Yeah, and
Scary,
they knew
but cool.
somehow before I knew that I had a Harley Davidson. He said, Coach, the bike is hot. I said, well, exactly what I knew, but I said, what does that mean? He said, they stole that bike last night, I think, just for you. He said, it's from a guy they don't like. And so the price of not liking
sleeping
the
with
guy,
the fishes.
they steal your motorcycle.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Exactly. It was like The Godfather all over again. and I was there. I was the guy with the Godfather. But
You were Don Corleone, man.
Don Corleone.
That's a very big role.
So,
But like,
but it was awesome.
Did the cops ever bug you? Did anything ever happen with that? Did they ever, clearly this bike was somebody's and now it's somebody else's. You see where I'm going with this? No. Or
The funny part about that is one of my members of the gym, I used to let the firefighters and the police in the gym, they didn't have to pay any dues if they were free.
Okay, I like that.
And this cop came up to me one night because I was in the back with the lifters. I was there all the time, hopefully, so nobody got hurt or whatever. And I was always helping somebody lift the correct way. And
No, you're the coach.
so this guy I was at the front desk. I had a pretty girl running the front desk, and that helped her business.
smart move.
So I went up there, and she said, "Coach, there's a policeman here to see you." And I thought, "Oh, God, what now?" So there was, in my office, there was a cop. And I'm going, I didn't do anything. I'm searching. He said, "Coach," he said, that motorcycle that you got, he said, "It's red hot.
Oh,
Here's what we're going to do." He said, "Who's got the bike?" And I mentioned the name. And he said, "It's one of the Angels." I said, "Yeah, I think it is." I said, "Am I in trouble?" He said, "No, but if they trace that bike back to you, you are in trouble."
So-
He said, "You gave it to the wrong people, because Hells Angels guys get arrested all the time. They're going to say, where did you get this bike? Because they don't have registration. They have no plates. They got nothing."
Probably took off the VIN, changed the VIN maybe. I would assume that's a smart way to go. I don't know.
So
Never stole a car before, but
it was kind of touchy there for a while. And he said, Coach, what do you know about the bike? I said, I don't really know anything about it. Why, was he riding it? And I acted really dumb, which is easy for me. Yeah. We recovered it. He said, you're not going to have to go to court. Because eventually, at first, we thought you're going to have to go to court.
Yeah, of course.
And say, where does that bike come from? Who has it? Whose was it? So forth. And I said, "Well, are you sure I don't have to go to court?" He said, "I will make sure that you don't have to go." He said, "But I get a free membership to the gym, right?" And I said, "Yep, you get whatever you want." So he did. He came to the gym for a while, and I gave him, I put him through the beginner's course. And he was there for quite a while. And I was glad he was there because he knew everybody. He knew the bad guys. He knew the good guys. But we had a good time.
Okay.
So, man, that's got your hands dirty. You walked away clean, though. That's pretty crazy, man. Coach, I'm going to go backwards a little bit with your time because Justin said you were a Golden Gloves boxer. I remember you had these old photos in the house of you boxing.
Yeah.
There's a newspaper article.
Yeah, and it was talking about you winning the Golden Gloves. So tell me, though, because you also wrestled and you played football, what was your favorite sport that you did?
Well, I was sounds kind of egotistical, but I was a kind of a natural in football.
Okay.
And wrestling was a little more challenging because I didn't know any things, but I would always wrestle with these guys that were seniors or, state champions or whatever, because they would teach you stuff. I didn't want to wrestle with the guys who didn't know anything.
Yeah, it doesn't do you any good, right?
And those guys would say, "Okay, Coach, this is the way you do it." So they'd go down, do a piece at a time. No, this way. No, you got to put your arm the other way. Blah, blah, blah. So I learned from the best guys. They were state champions. There was one guy that was a national champion. There was one guy that was really good that's in this room. And I don't know what his name is, but
I don't know either.
he was one of the best wrestlers that the state has ever had. And we got him involved in weight training, and so he fell in love with weight training, and he got better looking. It all worked for the good.
I want you to talk about the time you were in Golden Gloves, you broke your hand, and they had professional boxer, what was his name? Ezzard Charles, I believe, was there as like a fundraiser for, I believe it was, you tell us. I think from what I remember you saying was it was like champ versus champ, and when they get up, they get a celebrity coach to help coach them in the championship fight. Tell us a little bit about that.
That was pretty much the way it was. I made the finals in the Golden Gloves, and the fight before that, the night before that on Friday night, I got a big gash in my eye from the other guy. Uh-huh. So I had a bunch of stitches, which were very visible. And so when I got there and I talked to my guy, Vincent Cattarella was his name.
Oh, okay.
And he was a famous boxer when he was young. And he was the equipment coach at our high school.
Okay.
And so we called him Vinny. And I know another Vinny now. But
way better looking than that other fellow you were talking about.
The other fellow was old. So, but he was pretty good looking too. Maybe all the Vinnies are, I don't know.
Hey.
But
I can only speak for myself, you know.
He was my boxing coach. And so I would travel up to one of the gyms in Chicago once a week. And he would have me box somebody, and he'd start with some of the amateur kids, and he'd say, "Okay, Billy, come here." I said, "You're gonna go 3 rounds with Coach. Don't hurt him." I'm going, "Okay." Did he hear the part about not hurting me? And there were amateurs there, and there was 2 or 3 guys that were pros. They were really good.
Okay.
Ezzard Charles. There was another guy that was boxed with Joe Louis. And
Joe Louis is a huge
so he came up one night and he said, "Are you Coach Taylor?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to spar with you." I said, "Whoa." I knew who he was. I'm going like, "Wait a minute." He said, "No." He said, "I'm going to teach you how to box tonight. Listen to what I have to say." So he went through the whole thing. He said, "This is how you throw a jab. This is how you do a hook underhand. This is this, and this is that." And I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. But he was world champion. So I listened.
Yeah, you listened to that guy.
He said, "I'll tell you what." He said, "The Golden Gloves in 2 weeks, it's all you have left is 2 weeks to get in shape. But I'm going to be there. I'm one of the celebrities." And he said, "I'm going to mention your name to some people." So I went to Golden Gloves, of course, and I'm scared and I'm going, these guys are going to kill me. And this referee has his striped shirt on and stuff. And he said, are you Denny Taylor? And I said, "Yeah." And I thought they were going to say, "We don't have a fight for you. You can go home." He didn't say that. He said, "Well, I tell you what." He said, "The guy that you're fighting has had 3 fights, and he's a professional fighter now. And you don't have to win." He said, "You just have to learn how to fight."
Okay.
And I said, "Okay, I don't have to learn. I don't have to win." He said, "You're not going to win. Okay, but you're going to learn something tonight. So pay attention."
Okay.
that gives me the vibes like Kevin Hart. Like, you're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn today.
It was scary. And you go and you sit on this little bench, and the guy checks your gloves, and he puts some grease on your eyebrows so you don't lose them.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that was doing it, he said, "Are you Denny Taylor?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Who do you know?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Everybody knows who you are." He said, "What the hell do you do?"
Kind of a big deal.
I had, Vincent Calarola was my coach. He said, "Vinny was your coach?" I said, "Yeah, he's the coach. He's the equipment man and the medical guy at my high school." And so every night after everything was over, I'd play football or whatever. It's 7, 8 o'clock at night, and he's in the little room with some guy. And you go, "Who is that guy?" Black guy, his name was Ezzard Charles. I said, "That sounds familiar." He said, "Yeah." He said, "You're a world champion."
Okay.
And so
Dude.
I listened.
Like,
And,
let me look at what Ezzard Charles did, because he was a world champion, big time guy. So he was born in 1921, passed away in 75. Cincinnati Cobra.
Yeah.
That's his nickname.
The Cincinnati
He
Cobra.
was-
Okay.
he was
that's a cool name.
mean.
What was his record?
He would
So-
hurt you.
He had a record. He had 121 total fights,
Wow.
95 wins, 52 knockouts, 25 losses. He won the Golden Gloves in 1938, 39 in Cincinnati. He won the Golden Gloves twice in the same year, once in Cincinnati and then once in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then he won national AAU championships in 1939 in San Francisco. But let's see, professional boxing record, some of the guys, I mean, Dwayne Bethea, Don Jasper, Bob Allwright, like Tommy Jackson, he fought Rocky Marciano.
Yep.
Dang, that's
Yeah.
That's a
Fought-
big fight.
he fought him twice. He got knocked out in one of them, but dude, that's a big name.
Good for
Rocky
him.
Marciano, damn.
I wasn't super familiar with this guy, but you
No
told
way.
me that he was the celebrity
What's
of boxing. I
fun,
was like,
what's
okay, he has
funny
to be
about
big.
that?
He beat Joe Louis,
Wow.
When
Joe Louis.
he was my
Okay. This
my
guy's no
coach,
joke.
Wow. Okay.
We
Well,
went to
ahead,
the
go,
Golden
sorry.
Gloves.
Wow.
And I was in the locker room, and so finally I thought I better go down there and talk to him and find out what I'm supposed to do. So I went down there. He said, "Well, we're going to take a little pause here." He says, "I want you to come over and see me." So I went over, and he was having a cup of coffee or something, and he says, "Let me introduce you to a couple people." Well, Joe Louis was there. Anyway, he introduced me to like at least three world champions were at that Chicago arena. And it was like, I mean, you wanted to get your picture taken with them. And so we did a couple of those. And
Well, as cool as those guys were, technically they were there for
you.
yeah, what they do is they let those guys come for free, of course. They'll go pick them up from the train station in Chicago to bring them down because they want the publicity. And the guys
it's
and the
okay,
guys
that's
were
good.
glad to do it because they get a free dinner, you get a free ride. Plus the publicity is, the cameramen are taking their picture all the time.
Gotta play the game.
And they're going
You
like,
gotta play the part.
I'm a champion again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And
It looks good. I think it only helps your celebrity status.
It's like
whenever you're
community
doing stuff
outreach.
like
There
that.
was-
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe
there
you get
was
a couple different
people-
fans.
that wouldn't leave those guys alone because they went up in the ring and the spotlights are on them and they introduce, Rocky Marciano or whatever. Well, everybody in the audience knows who they are now.
Uh-huh.
So he comes back down, and then they did that 3 or 4 celebrities, And these people are waiting for him. The cameraman is there from the Herald newspaper. He's taking their picture. And then the other guys like Catarello and stuff are coming up. They want their picture with him. And he, with his arm around him, like we're best friends. And they do that. That act. All the boxers do
every
that.
Fighter's pose is that.
They do that, every one of them. And because I wanted to do that. I wanted to be the champion. And, I did win once. And I wanted to, when the guy comes in, they stick a microphone at you and they say, well, how do you feel? Blah, 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 blah. You say the same stuff. Like, hey, the guy was tough. He was a good fighter. Yes, I was lucky tonight. It felt good. He'll be back in the ring. And something where you don't want to say the guy's a piece of trash, but some of the guys were down on the south side. They were just mean, nasty.
They didn't care.
They didn't know how to box.
It's thug life down there.
Exactly.
It's a dog-eat-dog world. I mean,
they would rather take the glove off and punch you in the mouth.
Fight you bare knuckle and then hit you in a boxing fight.
And some of them were really good.
Well,
because they were tough. It didn't matter if this other guy was punching the doodle out of him. They're tough kids. They don't care. They're on the south side of Chicago. If you're not on the south side of Chicago, go commit suicide because something's going to happen to you. And every once in a while, one of these guys would show up, and I knew him because I fought 3 times. This guy's pretty tough. So he said, watch the left hook. Watch it.
So you fought 3 times to win this, to get into the finals, right?
Yeah.
You, in the semis, tell us a little bit. You've told us before, you were boxing the guy. He hits you. You get a little stitches on your eye, but you smoke this guy. You hit him with a hard shot, and you break your hand. And this is even before the finals. So this is the semis right now. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what they say in the back? You still fought.
The semis were my toughest fight. And
which hand did you break? Your right one or your left?
My right hand, my power hand.
Oh, man.
This was kind of, how are you? This one was like, you're going to go down, buddy. And it was broken.
Left one sends him to the hospital.
And I
right
went,
one sends him
I went
to
to
the
the
cemetery.
hospital. Catarello took me to the hospital at night at 2:00 in the morning. And they knew who he was. And he said, no, I don't want that doctor. I want this other guy. So they called this doctor and got him out of bed. And he came and he's for Catarello. He didn't know who I was. And he says, Cat, what do you need? He said, I want you to look at one of my boys tonight because tomorrow night we got to do something. And he says, what does he got to do? He said, we're going to knock somebody on their ass.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And you don't tell to a doctor like that. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. So he said, well, let me look at it. And so he looked at my hand and he did this and he did that. And he said, Cat, it's broken. Ooh. He says, there's not, you can't fight. He said, let's say this was for a world championship, okay? And this kid has to win because he's poor. And how would you get his hand ready to fight, even though it's broken? I said, Cat, I can't do that. He said, yes, you can. You owe me.
You owe me.
He said, okay.
He pulled that card.
He said, all right. Yeah. So this guy, I want to take tongue depressors, those little wooden things. He said, I'm going to put one on these 3 fingers, and I'm going to put tape all over it. So when you get there, you already tell the guy, no, my trainer taped me. Well, I'm fine, because he would find it. So he said, Cat said, put a glove on, any kind of old glove, and there's something like, he said, so people are not looking at your hand. I said, okay. So, and it was all like this. It had tape on it. It had some wire on it. It was like brass knuckles. So he says, don't let anybody see that.
Okay.
So I thought, well, the rep is going to see it because sometimes they look at your hand.
Check, right?
They check this, they do that. So he said, I think I got that covered. So when it my time to fight. And I had seen this guy the night before fight. He was pretty good,
Okay.
but I'm going to kill him.
I mean, he's got to be good if he's in the finals, right?
Exactly.
At least decent.
And Catarella told me, he said, this guy, what you got to do is give him a couple in the ribs, okay? His head will come down, and that's boom, boom. It's all over.
You kept throwing your bad hand?
Yeah. And it was broken. And
Could you throw it with the intent to knock him out? Did it hurt? I would imagine hitting with a broken hand.
well, there was something to that. He said, I tell you what I wanted to do. He said, I'm going to give you something that's illegal.
You can't start with that.
He said, I thought he was talking about heroin or something.
Oh, yeah, heroin? You don't even know you have a hand.
I'm going, yeah, okay, what are we talking about? He said, I'm going to give you a shot. You know, before we go back to the locker room, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to give you a shot. Your hand is going to be useful as it was, except you're not going to feel anything in your whole arm. He said, that's all dead. He said, you can control it, but you're going to hit somebody as hard as you can, and it's not going to hurt your hand, okay? Because that finger is broken. So is the other
That's
one.
some powerful stuff.
So I said, I don't want to do that. I said, if they find out, you're going to get in trouble, and you were one of the best referees in the country. So, I don't want them to find out we have a connection. He said, but tell you what, it's going to hurt. Every time you hit this guy, he said, you're going to scream in pain inside, not outside. So I'm going, okay. So they packed it in ice, and then went down, put the gloves on, and he said, remember what I told you? I said, I got it. He said, you may not win this fight, okay? He said, this other guy's better than you. I'm going, hey, I'm tired. I'm beat up. I want to go for a McDonald's. And he kind of gave me the wink, like, he said, you're a tough kid, huh? I said, God, I hope so.
Well, Coach, you're swinging around a bag of Lincoln logs for a hand.
I'd say that's pretty tough.
I remember hitting that guy because you automatically, you go boom, boom, 2, 1. It's called 2, 1, 2, 2, boom. And that one goes like that.
That's the slobber knocker.
And it's slobber knocker. It was my hand. And this thing was good. This thing was working okay. But you try to undercut him, try to get him in here under the ribs, and then he would go forward. And once he go forward, he wouldn't guard this way, and he's like this, and his head is right there where you want it. Okay. So I'm faking the broken one, and the guys were laughing at me, kind of like, is that it? And then I boom. I was climbing up the side. I pushed him over once, and the ref says, you can't do that. You can't do that. You're not wrestling. Okay, it's boxing. Okay,
but it's
I
still
got
a fight.
I got you. So,
Okay, did you know, like, what I'm thinking, I don't know what the specific thing was called, but Coach, are you familiar with Kurt Angle, the wrestler?
oh yeah,
Mr. America, you suck.
Yeah.
You suck. When he was going to the 96 Olympics for Atlanta, he broke his neck. So that was like a big deal of his character in WWE.
I want a gold medal with a broken freaking neck.
Won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. But when you talked about your hand, it made me think of Kurt Angle, because when he talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast, he said, I went to a doctor, and he said, like, hey, I'm qualifying for the Olympics. I'm going to win this thing. And he's like, not with a broken neck. He's like, I'll do whatever. I don't care if I'm in a wheelchair afterwards. And they're like, okay, well, I'm going to give you a shot 10 minutes before you wrestle.
right.
And you're not going to feel anything when you wrestle. But like 30 minutes after your match, you're going to be in agonizing pain.
right.
So do you think it was probably about the same stuff?
That was the basic thing. So he gave me a shot, and in the arm, and then that was a big shot. And then the other shot, he gave me 2 in the bad hand. I mean, I don't know how much juice that was, but it's a lot of juice. He said, well, you're not going to feel it when they hit you in the face. Okay?
So you just sit there,
all
stick and
up.
move with the jab, you know?
You pick them, and he said, I'm going to give you a shot, so you're not going to feel it if you hit him. Okay? So you're going to want to hit him because that's what you're trained to do. He said, but I'll tell you what's going to happen. He said, it's going to hurt so bad when you're done. He said, you'll want him to cut your arm off. He said, no, I'm not kidding.
Well,
I'm going, he said, do you really want to do this? He said, I can. He said, I'm a doctor. I can call this thing off. Mm-hmm. And I said, I can't win that way, Doc. Okay. But
we lost the fight.
Catarella came over and he talked to that guy that was talking to me, the doctor. And he said, do you advise that we not do this? And the doctor looked at me and he said, I'm not going to tell you anything. You do what the hell you want to do.
He's like, I already told you guys last night, but you guys are clearly here.
I'm sitting on a little stool, and the doc he turns around and he's leaving. They help him through the ropes. They do that kind of thing. Separate. So they're opening the ropes, and the doc's leaving, and he said, "You're a good kid. You're tough.
You're tough."
He pointed at me. And that meant like everything. He said I was tough. And that's why I'm here.
You may not have won in the ring, but you won that doctor's heart.
The doc was cool.
So afterwards, did you go to the doctor, get it casted? I'm assuming, dude, your hand was broke. You're throwing it at this guy. It probably made it worse.
I lost the fight. Mm-hmm. But I did pretty good in the first round. But after that, and the guy that's my corner man, Catarello, he said, I'm stopping the fight. He said, this is stupid. He said, they're going to have to cut your damn hand off. And I said, no. And I kind of grabbed him by he wore this white thing. And I said, don't. I said, if I die, it doesn't matter. I have to fight.
That reminds me of the Rock guy.
Yeah, if he dies.
He dies.
So
he dies.
He said, okay. He said, I'm not taking any responsibility. I don't even know you, okay? I said, okay, Cat, fine. So I went out and I did pretty good for first round. In the second round, I think his corner man told him that championship guy, he says, he doesn't have a right hand. It's hurt. He can't hit you on the left side of your jaw. He said, just go for it. Knock him. He wants to be done anyway. Knock him out.
Do him a favor.
So this guy came at me like he was really pissed. I'm going, I didn't do anything to you. And man, he started hammering the hell out of me. My nose was bleeding. My eye was cut. I had stitches already in the eye from the night before. And he just opened everything back up. And the referee came over after the second round. And he looked at my eye and he did that. And he says, holy shit. He said, I can see the bone. Ooh. He said, that's it.
Been there.
We're not doing it. We're done. We're done. What? I said, no, we're not. I want to fight. He said, no. He said, I'm the boss. You're not. He said, I will explain to the other corner what the deal is. I said, but I can see your skull.
Definitely been there.
So, I said, okay. And they rose the other guy's hand, and the whole damn thing. So I got down and Catarella said, well, I'm supposed to be here the rest of the night. But he said, I'm going with you to the hospital.
Yeah, we can get you.
So he told the other reps and stuff. He says, I'm taking this kid. I got to go. So they said, okay, fine. So he took me to the Silver Cross Hospital in Chicago.
This was the same doctor from the night before.
Yeah.
Oh, he owed him a favor, like
So
he said. He owed him a favor.
I was trying to make him famous. And that's funny because when we had to go back down the hall and so forth and go in there, because he's going to stitch it up. And he said, what was your name again? And I told him, my son, Denny Taylor. He said, you're the same guy that I talked to you last night. I said, yeah, I'm glad you remember me.
I'm back.
He said, I'm back, but this time I'm really hurt. And he looked at my eye, and the blood started coming down my face, my nose. And he said, you're hurt, definitely. He said, we got to staple it. They take this stapler and they put it on there like that.
Close it up, get it all nice and tight.
They close it, and then he stitches one side, then he stitches the other side, and then he stitches the middle. So, I mean, I felt like I was there for 2 hours. And
do you know how many stitches you were?
This guy was good. It was about 20.
20?
Yeah, I think there's 5 in each side. And then
probably did some underneath.
They do one that overlaps everything else. I mean, there's stitches here, stitches here.
Butterfly, I'm not sure.
And then they take your skin and they pull it like that, and then they lace it all up. I mean, I had a hell of it. It was really cool. And I got to go to school the next day, on Monday, and I wanted to take the bandage off.
Oh, yeah, you got to wait.
And so I had to go to the nurse, and I said, she took the bandage off. And I said, and she looked at it and she said, okay. She said, if they said you can go, you can go. And she said, wait, I'm taping that up. I said, no, don't tape it up. It's fine.
Chicks dig it. Come on, chicks dig scars.
So she said, this is my job. I cannot let you leave like that. So I went and I walked down the hall, and I wanted to make sure all the girls saw me walking down to class. And so I took the bandage off, and man, there's like about 5 of those big things that are holding that together like that. Well, and I had my arm in a sling because my finger was broken.
You just look like you got put through a wood chipper, huh?
I looked like I had been beaten up by the Hells Angels.
Stitches so deep you could see the bone. Golden Gloves boxer, had some connections. Doctor owed some favors. He made it work. That's just one of the many. But, let's kind of move this forward. So that was, you were in your youth. Then you went on to college. And he went to Eastern Illinois. He went to North Central College. And, I mean, like I said earlier, 4 separate degrees. So let's go over that. You got your, I
got a bachelor's degree, which is first.
And what was
and then
that?
I got 2 bachelor's degrees.
Anatomy and physiology or exercise physiology? Or
well, once I started part-time at the hospital sewing people up, they gave me this other one. So they said, on your credentials, you can put 4 different things.
Okay.
I said, that looks pretty good. And the last one was a surgical assistant. That meant you were a doctor. If you're not a doctor, you're not a surgical assistant.
Okay.
Because if the doctor doesn't get something right, he wants you to jump in and hold this while I do this.
Okay.
And I'm a little worried about this. So we did this surgery on this lady and cut her open. They took out her ribs. I don't know if they took them all out or some of them. And man, there was a gaping hole in her side. And there's blood everywhere. And the doc was kind of making fun of me. And he said, Denny, you're not going to throw up, are you? I said, no. I said, I'm not going to throw up, but I'm a little dizzy. I'm not feeling too good. He said, no. He said, you're all right.
So whenever you were in school, you worked with several different jobs. So you worked at the hospital.
I worked at the hospital almost every night.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they gave me a room. So there would be a surgery that I would help. I helped 2 different doctors, sometimes 3. And so I had the reputation of being a good helper. I knew what to do. I knew what instrument they wanted. And I was...
Yeah. You're helping like a, what would you call it? Doctor's aide kind
I was
of,
a
or
doctor's...
was this voluntary? Was this an actual job? Was it
No, this is what I wanted. I wanted to be a doctor.
pre-med?
I was in pre-med, and I knew I'd be a very good doctor. And the reason I wanted to be a doctor was because my dad died after serving in the military for 20 years. And
Served in the Army, right?
he went in the Army, and he was in the World War II. And he was hurt several times. He was shot. And they sent him back home.
So, hey everyone. So, before we wrap up this episode, we want to take a moment to acknowledge and respect something deeply personal that Coach had shared with us during our conversation. So, out of the care for his privacy and the emotions involved, we decided not to include the part of the discussion where Coach went into detail about the passing of his father. So Coach Taylor has been an incredible mentor and leader and friend to us, and we want to honor his courage and vulnerability during that difficult time in his life by not posting that part of our conversation in the podcast. So we're grateful to have him on the podcast, and we look forward to having him back on to continue sharing his wisdom and his stories with us. That was just one story that we just didn't think it was appropriate for the circumstances. So thank you all for tuning in. Please remember to support those around you. You never know what anyone's going through at that time. Love you guys. Please like it, share it, subscribe it. If you want to see more of Coach, we'll definitely have him on more in the future. Can't wait to have you guys in our journey. Exciting news that I'll spill out now. We're actually going to be improving our studio here in the future. So be tuning in. We love you guys. We want to thank you for giving us your continuous support. See you again on the Blood, Sweat, and Banter podcast. Love you guys. Have a good time.